What matters is that it's reliable and it's accurate. And by reliable, I mean you're going through the bushes, you're pushing through spruce trees, and you got snow and you got pine needles and all this stuff falling into it, and it fires anyway after all of that, right? That's what you want, reliable. Hey, it's Greg here with Outdoors on the Cheap, and I thought I'd make a short video just talking about value for money when it comes to buying a 22, a rabbit gun basically. And my experience with this Cooey Model 60 repeater, this, I mean, if you're just starting out and you're getting in hunting, and this is especially a problem with younger guys. They want to buy semi-automatic rifles, and they want these badass looking things. They want these things that look like military weapons. They want high rate of fire. They want large round capacity. And I used to think that way too, but it doesn't make any sense unless you're gonna go in a war with rabbits or something. You know, it's unlikely you'll see that much or need that many shots. If you need that many shots, you need to work on your aim. So these little guns, you can get them used. I mean, the Cooey is a Canadian firearms company that doesn't exist anymore. I think they were bought out by Winchester in the 70s, and then Winchester just stopped basically making the models. But this one's probably from the 50s or the 60s. I bought it for $60 back in 2008, I think. And it was just great. It was great to find one of these, and they're really not collector's items. No one, you know, goes crazy over these things, so you can usually buy them inexpensively. You know, what typically happens is that you know, an older person dies and their kids have all their guns and they want to get rid of them, and they don't know what they're worth, and these are not collector's items, so they tend to be inexpensive to buy. And they probably cost more than that now. They probably cost maybe $150 or maybe less, but they're very accurate. They're very reliable. I'll show you how the action works. They're very different. I love the older firearms because every single one is different. You know, some clever person would come up with an ingenious way for a way an action should work. And you basically are getting to see the inside of someone's mind, how they solve the problem. How do you get bullets to feed into a chamber? I made a couple modifications of this thing. I'm gonna do a video on this, but I've got a inner tube sling. I just like these. They cost nothing. They're very comfortable on the shoulder. They don't tend to slip off because they're rubber. And you can sling it over your shoulder, but because it's elastic, you can do it this way as well if you need both your hands. You know, if you're in a situation where you don't think you're going to be seeing anything, you just want to hike fast and move quickly sort of thing, you can do that. But anyway, another great thing about having an old thing that isn't a collector's item is that you don't have to treat it, you know, lovingly, right? You can use it the way it was meant to be used, as a tool, a hunting tool sort of thing, right? Also, I'm just gonna say this because people are gonna ask, why do I have rope over here? It's not to hold it together. It's actually a beautiful warm day today. It's like 0 degrees Celsius and sunny. It's just lovely. But you know, when it gets really cold, I like to wear wool mittens, and I tend to have a mitten in the left hand and a trigger mitten in the right. But I find the wool sticks to the metal, so I just put this rope here so that I can have my thumb when I'm holding it. You know, that's sort of what they call trail carry. Right, I tend to hold the rifle in my left hand when I'm just walking along. So this way my wool thumb on a wool mitten doesn't get the wool taken off. And you know, if you hold cold metal with a wool glove or a wool mitten, because your hand is hot, some condensation happens and it sort of sticks to the barrel, and it takes wool off of the mitten, off the thumb. Not a lot, but I mean, it basically wears the thing out prematurely. So this was my solution, just putting something around there that's non-metallic, and it doesn't get in the way of the sights, so it works just fine. Let me show you how the action works here. So it's got this neat little, let me see now. So the action has to be closed for you to do this, but it's got this little tube like that, okay, and a little hole here. You pull the tube up, and you put the rounds in there, right? You can put, I don't know how many you can put in there. I usually just put 5. I've never been in a situation where I got 5 shots off on anything. I've never needed 5. You either hit it in 1 or 2 or it's gone, sort of thing. But then this thing just comes down, or a little pin here that just goes like that. And that's how you load it. And then it's got this strangest little, let me just pull this bullet out here. Strangest little thing. It's got this weird sort of plunger type thing, and it pops the bullet up. And that's how she cocks. All right, let me just take this off. All right. Now, one interesting thing about these is that it has the safety is very, very low tech. You just pop it in there, and that's the safety. Okay. But I have found when you're going through brush and stuff like that, also when it's really cold, when you take the safety off, it doesn't always fire. So I prefer to sort of just have it off all the time. And if I'm walking along and I see something, I cock it at that point. It's safer too, right? So I've got a round chambered, but it's not cocked. It's relatively, I mean, when you're hunting, at least the way I hunt anyway, I've sort of, sometimes I'm in full hunting mode and sometimes I'm in half hunting mode. And I'm hiking out of the woods here pulling a sled because I've been in the woods overnight, and I'm sort of in like low hunting mode, meaning I'm just sort of walking around, not really dialed in. But if I was in the bush there, really, you know, in sort of hunting mode, I tend to walk carrying it like this, so it's easy to cock, right? Anyway, the Cooey Model 60 repeater. They have I think there's a Model 75 is a single shot, but it's got like a 27-inch barrel on it. It looks like a big rifle, but it's actually a little 22. And I think there's a version of the Model 60 that's just a single shot. Really, you can find them. They're very inexpensive because nobody wants single shot rifles. It used to be the sort of thing you'd buy a boy back in the old days when 10-year-old boys had rifles and stuff like that. And it is a good rifle for not a 10-year-old, but a younger, you know, a new hunter. As new hunters tend to be, they're just not as focused on the safety aspect. At least I think, knowing how young men think, they're so focused on shooting, they're not really focused on safety. The great thing about the not this here one, but the single shots, is that when you chamber around, it's not cocked. This one here, whoops, I'll lose my bullet there. But this one here cocks on chambers, chambered and it's cocked, okay? But the single shots, when you chamber the round, it's not cocked. So it's very safe, right? A young person might chamber around, they might take a shot at something, miss it, chamber another round, and when they look up, it's gone. And then they forget that they got the thing cocked, and they're walking around with a cocked rifle. And 22 can kill you just as well as any other gun, right? So the great thing about the single shots, not this here one, but the single shots, is that they don't cock on close, but you only get one shot. But it's sort of the ideal thing for you know, someone in their teens who's learning to hunt, because it teaches you accuracy. You've only got one shot, so you don't just start spraying the forest with bullets. You know, you actually take your time, breathe, do all that sort of good hunting stuff, where you learn to calm yourself down and take your time and take a shot. But these are great too, because you got a second shot just in case you missed the first shot, right? It happens. Sometimes a bullet goes off a branch, or you're a little too excited, or whatever. You didn't steady yourself properly, or what have you, right? So it is good to have a second shot. But I don't see the point in having, I remember when I was a teenager, what I really wanted was like something I could pop a clip into, probably just because I watched a lot of movies, you know, sort of thing. But it's not like I ever needed 10 shots to do anything. You know, I just went in the woods for an overnight. I've been in the woods for like 24 hours, and I put 7 bullets in my pocket, and I haven't used any of them. I just haven't seen anything. I saw 4 deer about 20 minutes ago. It's not deer season. Wrong weapon. Just got to watch them, right? But yeah, it doesn't, you know, if you're new to this sort of thing, you're getting into it, or you want to get into it, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, there's really popular rifles you can buy, like the Ruger. It makes this beautiful sort of sound, pop, 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 pop. And it's almost like catnip to a young man, because young men can be foolish. But none of that means anything, right? You're paying for, I don't know what you're paying for, but you're not paying for a hunting. I mean, I'm not saying those things can't be used for hunting. They're perfectly fine for hunting. But you're paying a lot for features that you don't need, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Right? If you're an experienced person, and I mean, 22s are for rabbits. At least where I live, that's really all you can use them for. You can't even use them for partridge, or you shouldn't, because you shouldn't be shooting up into trees with rifles, in my opinion anyway. It's a rabbit gun, and you know, you don't need you know, a weapon with a high rate of fire to hunt rabbits. You need something that's reliable, that works, that's not going to fail, that's not going to, I mean, with semi-automatic rifles, sometimes depending on the ammunition you use, they don't cycle the ammunition properly, you know. And then these are all things that you think are important when you're on a range firing, you know, 50 shots. But when you're hunting, you don't fire any shots unless you see something. And it's not like you're going to go hunting and see 30 rabbits, or, I mean, maybe you will. I never have, but I don't have dogs and a bunch of guys. I'm by myself. So what matters is that the thing fires when you want it to fire, and it's accurate. That's what matters. And these are reliable, accurate rifles that you can get cheap. So I recommend, in general, I recommend buying used rifles and shotguns and stuff like that for hunting. But the Cooey Model 60 or the Cooey 75 or the other, I just can't remember the other model, the single shot. I think it might be a Model 60, and there's a Model 60 repeater, which is what this one is. But they are great value for money, and you can still find them around. You can find them, and in the want ads, or that's an outdated reference. The internet version of want ads, right? They tend to have local ones where you can find things like this. Anyway, my whole point is that if you're getting into this sort of thing, if you're new to this sort of thing, you're probably watching a lot of TV and you're watching hunting shows, and you're getting, in my opinion, the wrong information, because they're trying to sell you things. I mean, that the show is to sell you things. You can learn a little bit about hunting, but the point of the show is to sell you things. And most of the things they're trying to sell you are things you don't need. And for, a 22 is a rabbit gun. And things like rabbits, right? It's a small game rifle. The only small game I can hunt here with a 22 that I'm interested in is rabbits. And you do not need multiple, it's not like duck hunting where you want to have a second and a third and a fourth shot, right? Multiple shots. You want one good shot, maybe a second shot in case you've missed the first one. But it's not magazine capacity, rate of fire. None of those things matter for that sort of hunting. What matters is that it's reliable and it's accurate. And by reliable, I mean you're going through the bushes, you're pushing through spruce trees, and you got snow and you got pine needles and all this stuff falling into it, and it fires anyway after all of that, right? That's what you want, reliable. And these things were built for that. They are reliable and they work and they're accurate. You can get them cheap. So I hope you found it interesting. If you did, please like, share, subscribe. Until next time, enjoy the outdoors on the cheap. Thanks for watching.